We are salvaging leftovers today. So if you've got some summer plants left over, Owen Reeves is showing us what to do with them over the winter. Hey, Owen!
Hello!
How's it going?
Great.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to get my hands dirty today.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So we're gonna start with this big old planter that we have over here. And for a lot of us, what we're gonna do with our summer annual planter, it just goes out with the compost.
That's honestly what I do.
And that's okay, no judgment, no judgment. But what we can do with something like this is there are some elements of this that we can salvage, winter over, unfortunately not outside. That's the trick.
Yeah.
We have to find a warm spot for it and then reuse them next year. So a lot of times the centerpiece of a planter, in this case, this is this big plant called an elephant ear.
I wonder why.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So this is a corm. It's like a bulb that you can dig this out and save. We've also got this little plant back here. This is a Tradescantia.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And really, really pretty. So this is can work really well as a houseplant. This can live inside your house forever. So we could dig that out, put it in a pot, keep it inside. Same thing with the sedum. So looking at this, we have the New Guinea impatiens, which are gorgeous. These are annuals. We just reuse them. We can't reuse them. They're good for a season. Then they stop flowering. Then we just
They
put them out
flower
with the
enough for
compost.
that season. They've had their good run.
Absolutely. They give you color all summer. These we have to replant every year, but there are elements of this that we can save. So we're going to show you how to do that.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
With canna lilies.
Ooh.
So these are a real classic plant, and a lot of people, sounds like maybe you've grown canna lilies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, most people will just put these out with a compost, which again, no judgment, you definitely can. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna salvage the rhizomes. So when we pull it out of the pot, or if you have it in the ground, it's gonna have a big old mass of roots like this. Now the first step that we have to do is clean off basically all of the soil.
Okay.
And most of the roots that you see, we're gonna get rid of them. So we start with something that looks probably like this. I'm gonna put this aside. And then once you start to get all the soil off, so I'm gonna give you this.
Oh, what an interesting gift.
Yeah. It's a good one, I promise.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna put this down here. And then, so what we end up once we start knocking the soil off is something like this. Now what we need to do is keep trying to get all of the soil off. So you kind of shake it, you get in there with your hands, rake that off. And the reason we're taking the soil off is because we don't wanna hold too much water around the bulb. They need to dry out a bit. Not completely. If they completely dry out, they die, which is bad.
Got it.
But we just want them to go to sleep. So what we're gonna do there is try and get, yes, all of that dirt off, pretty much everything that you can. And it really helps if you let it dry out in the plant or in the pot or in the ground quite a lot before you try and do this, because wet soil, very sticky, so it's hard to do this.
This is where I grab it and outside I'm usually shaking it.
Yes,
is that okay?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
And then when we get down to all of these roots, the small ones here, we don't need these at all. So we're literally just gonna take our pruners and then we're gonna snip these all away. Because these roots are responsible for taking all of the water up, which we don't need them to do. We're trying to convince this plant that it's time to go to sleep. It needs to go into dormancy. So we trim all the roots off, get all the soil away.
You can tell you're the professional. You're so fast at that. Yeah.
Little bit of practice, little bit of practice. I've done a few haircuts in my time, right? So yeah, you just keep snipping all this away. But the part that we are trying to save are these are called rhizomes. So it's this really chunky bit that you can start to see here.
It looks like ginger.
Exactly right. Very similar. And ginger has rhizomes, exactly the same. We're trying to save that, and that's what we're going to winter over.
Okay.
And then at this point, what we can also do is we can kind of gently see if we can pry them apart. And the more of the roots that we remove, there you go.
Oh, like that. Okay,
so
cool.
this will actually be an entirely new plant next year. So this is also how we make more plants.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool? So we can just break them apart. Now, the part that I just did is what you want to avoid, which does happen sometimes. So breaking the rhizome like that, it might heal, but it might not. It's not like we're gonna throw this out, but this is what you wanna try and avoid. So you did it right.
Nailed it. First time.
Now, once we've got all that cleaned up, we're gonna actually trim the tops back as well. So we're gonna leave, maybe just a little bit of growth there. And then what we're gonna end up with, I'm gonna bring up my handy little container here.
Fancy container.
All the cleanup is something that looks like this. So pretty much exactly what you've got. We might even snip these roots off a little bit, and we need to make sure this is relatively dry. So if this thing has still got a lot of moisture in it, leave it outside for a while, let it dry out, and then we're gonna store it in a cardboard box, just like this. and you're gonna lay it in, so something like peat moss. So this is actually a certain kind of potting mix that I like using for this. But very low moisture is important.
It's dusty,
Yes.
like it's dry feeling.
Yes, exactly.
Is there anything else you could use instead of something like this?
So if you had wood shavings, so like stuff you'd use for animal bedding, so if you've got a hamster or something like that, perfect.
Oh, that's amazing.
But having something that's relatively dry is really important. We need to keep a little bit of moisture in here, but if this was soaking wet, these would rot.
Got it.
So it's really important. Now, and then what you would do with this is put this in if you had a garage, if you got a spot in your basement, even a closet if you're in an apartment is fine. The key is it needs to be not freezing and dark. Those are the two things that are important.
They're hibernating like a bear.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And then come January, February, we're gonna take this, pot it in a new pot inside the house. It'll start growing in the house. When it warms up, we take it outside in the spring.
That's amazing.
Right? So it's a great way, and these plants will always keep multiplying.
Yeah.
So you start with one, you end up with a whole bunch.
So you could start a business too,
Right?
selling your plants next year.
That's how you make friends in the neighborhood,
Exactly,
right? Here,
that's amazing.
who needs a canna lily?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we can do is transition from an outdoor plant into a house plant. Now, obviously, this doesn't work with everything. It has to be a tropical plant. So we can't take something that needs a dormancy period and put it inside, or it won't be happy. So you might have a planter like this. This is a shade planter that I made earlier this season. So we've got things like this bird's nest fern. This can live inside forever. We have foxtail fern, this fine one here.
That's nice.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
That's beautiful.
And then we've also got polka dot plant, this one, which can't.
Got it.
So we have some in here that'll work, some that won't. And so here we have, this is called a kangaroo paw fern.
I thought this was fake.
I know,
It
right?
looks like a bit like a fake plant.
They model a lot of fake plants after plants exactly like, you need to feel. It feels fake. It feels plastic.
Yeah.
But no, I promise this is a living plant. And then what we're gonna do is a similar idea with that, although we're not gonna try and get all of the soil off the roots. We're just gonna try and get a good amount of the soil off the roots. So you can tell I have this planted in the ground. It's not container soil. We wanna knock a lot of that off because it holds too much moisture. So we're gonna just, kind of rake a bunch of this away. And then, like the canna lily, this actually has rhizomes, but the rhizomes are these funny things here.
Oh, the little sticks.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we can also separate this plant out and make it into more than one over time. But in this case, we just want to have one cute house plant. So we're just gonna pop it into our pot here. And it's actually sitting a little bit low. So this is really important to remember.
We want it low.
Not this low.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. We want it a little bit low. That's too low.
Well, lucky I brought this dirt.
You came prepared.
Yeah.
So just pour a little bit more in, just so we can get the height right, like that. And they're actually, I like squishing it down a little bit because the soil compresses over time anyway. And then we're gonna pop this back in. So that's about the height we want it. And so if we can see, so just inside, it's kind of like an inch or two below the rim of the pot where the top of the soil is here. And this plant's cool because these will actually grow out and over top and down the sides of the pot over time. It looks really cool.
That's
This is a
weird.
great house plant.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend it. And then what we're gonna do is just pour some more soil in around, just like that. It's really important we put a lot of fresh potting soil whenever we're replanting anything that was outside into the inside, because the old soil, it's not gonna have a lot of nutrients left. We need to add more nutrients in there. And the other problem is a lot of times outdoor soil holds onto too much water.
And
so the plants
bugs.
and bugs,
Yeah.
exactly. So the plants stay too wet when they transition to being indoor plants, and then we end up with root rot. So in the case of ferns, they actually, it's really important that they not dry out. So watering this is, this is why the crew gets mad at me after I But yeah, and then we just tuck this all in. And then of course, once we're done, we give this a water and bring it inside. Keep in mind, it's probably gonna drop some leaves. That's okay. It's just getting used to the new conditions. Trim those off. It'll start growing new stuff in midwinter.
That's amazing, Owen. Oh my gosh, I feel like I have a green thumb. Such good tips to keep things going through the winter.
Absolutely. Add that value, keep things going, and save money. You don't have to buy new plants all the time. You can reuse some of your old ones.
I love that. Thank you so much. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.